Bé, molt bon dia, muy buenos días, good morning. Estem ara doncs, a punt de començar un nou panell, en aquest cas doncs, relacionat amb el que són les Smart Cities i les polítiques europees i també relacionades amb les comunitats Smart City. Tenim amb nosaltres a 3 persones que ens faran la seva exposició i a partir d'ara, si m'ho permeten, m'adreçaré a vostès en anglès perquè tenim també gent de fora i per tant perquè ens entenguem tots plegats amb aquesta llengua que és més universal en aquest cas com és l'anglès puguem entendre'ns. Well, thank you very much and welcome to the Smart City Congress, to this new panel to discuss about European policies and specifically in terms of smart cities and communities. As I always like to say, cities will have a major role dealing with the critical challenges of the 21st century, climate change and other environmental threats, high consumption of non-renewable resources, economic development, growing populations, and also aging infrastructures. Keeping these thoughts in mind, the smart city concept can be evaluated as well from different point of views, but with complementary perspectives. At the first level, in the same way, we can talk about smart management of urban services. We can talk about the smart management of regional services, applying the same definition, methodology and conclusions. But it's to say that there are some services or challenges that cannot be solved from strictly a local point of view. We need higher optics and perspectives. And this is what we are going to do today in this panel, and I would like to introduce our first speaker, which is Colette Maloney. She is the head of Smart Cities and Sustainability Unit at the European Commission. This is the unit responsible for research and development activities on ICT and sustainability, including energy-efficient buildings and cities, smart electricity grids, low-carbon transport and mobility, and efficient water management. Thank you very much, and enjoy the speeches.
Okay, thank you for the introduction, and thank you also for the invitation to speak here. So I'm going to give an EU view on smart cities. So I'm going to start just by saying the EU has given priority to smart cities as a new challenge, a new initiative. And the context of that is actually our energy and climate change targets that we have set for Europe. I'm not going to go into those in detail because you'll hear more about that in the next presentation. And I've put a definition of smart cities here on the chart, but there are many definitions of smart cities. And I hope with this presentation that I can make it a little bit clearer where we're coming from in the Commission and what we intend to do. So specifically what I'll do is talk about an initiative. It's called European Innovation Partnership on Smart Cities and Communities. I would start by saying it is the European initiative now on smart cities, and I'll just give an overview of that initiative. So as a high-level goal, what we want to achieve with this initiative is mass market adoption of technologies in cities. And I don't mean just any technologies. We're talking here about integrated solutions, solutions that integrate ICT, energy, and transport technologies. And the idea is to get a triple bottom line gain for Europe, as we call it. We hope that by having mass market adoption of technologies, that we can increase European competitiveness, that we can improve quality of life, that we can provide more jobs for people, and we hope to have a strong contribution to sustainability, in particular our energy and climate targets. What we'd like to achieve with this initiative by 2020 is actually to have transformed a number of European cities into smart cities, which is why I said it is the initiative now at European level from the Commission's point of view. And in doing that, we've launched a number of actions, and I'll go through them pretty quickly. I've got 10 minutes, I think. So how will we go about transforming European cities? There are various means that we have at hand to do that in the European Commission. One, of course, is our coordinating role. We also have a role in funding projects, in particular under our Horizon 2020 programme, which will be launched hopefully in December this year. We, of course, play a role in legislation, regulation, policy in Europe. That goes without saying. And we can also leverage people, stakeholders, communities to do things. So we've actually set up this initiative, the European Innovation Partnership, about a year ago now. And basically what we are doing is we are gathering stakeholders from energy, ICT and transport sectors together with cities and other relevant stakeholders. And we are looking at the challenges that cities face today and trying to come up with a plan of action, to put it in just very general terms. What's coming out of this plan of action now are three things. The first is that we feel that we will need to fund pretty large-scale projects, which for the moment we'll call them demonstration projects, or in particular lighthouse projects, and you'll hear more about those in the next presentation. And those projects will basically be demonstrating technologies that can be used to reduce carbon emissions, that can be used to achieve energy savings, and in general to manage cities more efficiently. A second thing that we will be doing is what we want to see in Europe is not just demo projects or pilot projects like we have today in cities throughout Europe, but we want to see scale up of those types of projects. And we're not seeing scale up at the moment. We're seeing, projects maybe that at maximum involve a couple of thousands of users or of citizens, etc. So what we want to do is understand why we're not seeing scale up in Europe. So a second set of actions that we're undertaking then is to identify exactly what we can do to achieve scale up by learning lessons from cities who will be rolling out technologies in these projects. We will look at what sort of barriers that regulations may be posing to scaling up some of these technological solutions, what sort of standards we need or what sort of standards exist. We'll be looking at collecting data, formatting data in a common way, measuring progress, etc. As I said, this initiative is supposed to be the European initiative on smart cities. We've had a number of initiatives around cities in the past, and I've listed a whole list of them here. And I'm not going to go through all of them. But one of the things that I want to say just in relation to this slide is what we want to do is to learn from experience. We don't want to reinvent the wheel. So what's new about this European Innovation Partnership? Well, the first thing that's new about it is that in the Commission we've kind of joined forces. We've brought 3 commissioners together, the commissioners responsible for the digital agenda, for energy and for transport. And we're also involving the commissioners responsible for research and innovation, for environment and for regional policy. And what we want to achieve with this EIP is we want to change the approach basically to building up our cities, to building up smart cities. And the first thing that we've identified that we need to do is to break down barriers that exist today. Barriers that exist between, in particular, the energy sector, the transport sector and the ICT sector. There is a need both for those industries to work more closely together, and there is a need in cities for departments or managing, responsible for energy or for transport or for communications and information technology to also work together more closely than they have in the past and look at the city as a whole. So it's about breaking down silos. And we're putting all our initiatives under one roof, including our major funding initiative around smart cities. And what is also new is the focus has moved sort of from research and development to innovation. And the innovation is around the integration of these technological solutions, whether they're ICT, energy, and transport, and to innovation in business models. Because what we don't really see today, and that's one of the reasons we probably lack scale-up, is business models that are sustainable. And through focusing on the energy and climate targets, we do believe that we can achieve progress in other areas that are important to, to some of our important policy goals in the Commission. In DG Connect, in my own DG, I'm talking about interoperability of service infrastructures, so that it's just much easier for cities to make systems, to make infrastructures work together and to upgrade them in the future. I mentioned data and I mentioned metrics, and I'll go into that in more detail. I mentioned that we are, together with the industry and cities, we are developing what we've called a strategic implementation plan. And that plan basically identifies a number of areas where we think we will need action from those stakeholders. And these areas have been identified by the stakeholders. And what we have is 3 sort of vertical areas here. One is urban sustainable mobility, and as the name tells you, it focuses, on transport, how we can improve transport in cities by looking at different modes of transport, services that provide information on availability of transport in cities, alternative fuels, and things like that, better logistics. Second area is districts and built environments, where we're basically looking, as it says, at the built environment, how we can integrate renewable energy into the mix and heat, provide electricity basically to the built environment in a more sustainable way than we have been able to in the past. And we're talking about integrated infrastructure. So we need to look at our infrastructures also in a different way and not develop new infrastructures for everything, but try and reuse existing infrastructures as much as possible. So those are 3 vertical priorities that we have identified. But there's a lot of common problems, and we agreed with stakeholders on 8 areas where we do need to focus. The first column, insights and governance. The first area we've identified is citizens. I mean, ultimately, if we're talking about smart cities, our citizens will have to buy into whatever we, propose to develop as smart cities. So we need to find ways of engaging citizens and getting their buy-in to these sort of schemes and projects. It's clear that if we want to smarten up our cities, as I said earlier, that we need to take a holistic view of cities, and we really need to manage them in an integrated way rather than in a siloed way. We need much more knowledge sharing between cities, not only what they've done well, but attempts they have made to smarten up their cities and that have not worked, and why they haven't worked. It's important to share that sort of knowledge as well. We'll need money for all of this. Smartening up our cities is probably going to cost billions of euros. And there's ways to achieve economies of scale, and one of those ways that has been discussed in particular among city authorities is to procure solutions jointly. So rather than single cities, writing specifications, writing calls for tender, but getting together with other cities and doing that to try and drive down prices. Business models, there are no business models that we are aware of that have, that have been particularly successful, and we're going to have to understand far better than we do today what sort of business models will work for cities. And then the whole area of information decision making. A lot of people here today are probably familiar with the concept of open data. A lot of data is collected in cities, whether it's about people's energy consumption, whether it's about the state of traffic, and there's a lot of data on demographics. And there's nice sort of services and applications that can be developed that can help citizens and to help city managers make better decisions than they can today. We've also identified standards as an area that we need to focus on as well. What sort of standards will work for smart cities? We have to think much more horizontally, about standards, in particular when we're talking about information technologies, communications technologies. Standards, they will have to work for many areas, energy, transport and beyond, and not just on single application areas. And finally, we're going to have to, if we want to make success, we're going to have to start measuring baselines, maybe in relation to energy performance, in relation to carbon emissions, in relation to jobs created, and we're going to have to, we have to measure baselines and then measure progress. Set targets and measure progress. So these are just, in a nutshell, this is a set of areas which we have identified with stakeholders that we will want to focus on in the context of this European Innovation Partnership. Some of these activities we will be able to fund as a European Commission. In other areas, we will be looking at stakeholders to come forward with calls or with commitments of their own. I wanted just also to clarify how this initiative and how, in particular, the large-scale projects that we're talking about differ from what we've done in the past. So along this horizontal line, it's just the horizontal axis is basically innovation timescale. So in our research programs in FP7 and now in Horizon 2020, which is the follow-up, we will be developing and we will continue to support the development of building blocks for smart cities. We'll be doing R&D and validation. We'll be doing demonstration. And I think the third speaker here today is going to show an interesting example, actually, of one type of concept which is now being demonstrated in city environments today. And what we want to do differently under Horizon 2020 with big projects is scale up. And really focus on integrating technologies and demonstrating business models. So that's this shaded column here. And ultimately what we want to achieve is large-scale rollout, mass market adoption of smart city solutions. Just on large-scale demonstration, just a couple of bullet points before I come to an end. What we will be looking for in these large-scale demonstration projects is integrated innovative solutions and business models in two to three cities. Critically important will be evidence of the potential for scale-up of solutions. So if people want to come forward with proposals for projects like that, they should have evidence, if they're looking for the Commission to fund projects at least, that they will be able to scale up and replicate these types of solutions in other cities. From the information technologies and communications technologies perspective, one of the things that we have learned from cities is that in the past they have suffered from technological lock-in to particular technologies, particular vendors. That's something we absolutely want to avoid in the future, so we will be looking for commitments to open standards. Timeline. So I said a year ago we launched the EIP. It's been supported now by the European Council. We've had a number of meetings with our stakeholders, only beginning this year, March this year. But we have now, since 1 month, adopted this strategic implementation plan, and that contains those 11 areas that I just highlighted. And as the next step, you can find that strategic plan online. We have a partnership launch on the 26th of November here in Brussels, so that's next week. Call for proposals, December. We'll have an operational plan for the partnership, hopefully early next year, which will go into far more detail than this strategic implementation on who does what. And later on next year, we will be calling for commitments from stakeholders. So that's it. That's just, as I said, a quick introduction to where we're going in Europe with smart cities. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. At the end, we will have the opportunity to ask questions. So I would now like to present our second speaker. She is Andreea Strachinescu. She is currently working with the European Commission in the Directorate General for Energy as head of the unit for new energy technologies, being responsible for the development of the policy and actions on non-nuclear energy research and innovation.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everybody. After the introduction on Smart Cities and Communities European Innovation Partnership, I would like to enter a little bit, let's say, in detail and to present you the energy perspective. So, you know very well that energy policy for the next period of time, we are concentrated on the 2020 targets. And these are, probably you know, to reduce the greenhouse gases emissions, for which we are on track, so it will be achieved. To increase the share of renewable energy up to 25%, which will be also achieved. In electricity, will pass 35. But we have also to increase the energy efficiency by 20%, which for the moment, according to the current estimations, probably will achieve only 17%. And where smart cities is coming here? So you know very well that in cities a lot of energy is consumption of the energy in cities is very important. So cities may have an important role to play in supporting the European Union energy policy objectives. Why this is important? That's for sure that European Union, it's dependent on import of energy. And this situation, if you look at this graph, which looks a little bit what is the forecast up to 2013, will continue to increase. You may see that European Union with Japan will be the ones for which the increased rate of import dependency will be the most important. There is only one country for which the trend will be reversed, and this is the United States, due to the recent development, especially in the shale gas, and the fact that gas prices decreased very much, and the energy also as well. So we have to do more to decrease our dependency on imports, and we have to do more concerning the energy efficiency. Speaking about energy efficiency, what exactly will mean to have 20% reduction of energy increase of energy efficiency in Europe? So this will be the equivalent of 415 million ton oil equivalent, which do not have to be imported every year. or let's say savings around 193 billions, or let's say 1,000 coal power plants less, or the GDP of Finland in 2012. So you see that it's quite impressive in what can be achieved with 20% of energy efficiency. Now we are coming back to cities. We know that each city it's unique, and especially in Europe, it's very, very strong. But they have common challenges, and we are coming back to the energy consumption, to the pollution, to improving the quality of life of citizens. Based on this, we have to address all these problems with new solutions, not to look at the way we solved them before. We have to think of new ways, we have to be innovative, we have to collaborate more. What is the Smart Cities philosophy? It was presented a little bit before, and just the idea is to look at what are the challenges and what are the barriers, bottlenecks for the cities, and to try to develop innovative and solutions which can be replicated. Also, we need to put together cities and regions to work, and we have to involve industry. That's for sure that Smart Cities and Communities initiative, in order to be implemented in cities, we need also the strong involvement of industry. Industry from the three sectors, energy, transport and ICT, which have to work together and to develop solutions at the intersection of these three sectors. So we needed an integrated approach, which has to focus, as I said, on the intersection. It doesn't mean that only the black area which is in the center has to be addressed. That's for sure. That's speaking about ICT. ICT is a consumer, but in the same time enabler for different technologies. That's for sure that our life today cannot be passed without ICT. It's everywhere. So it will not be difficult, for sure, to find this kind of solutions. So for the next period of time, Smart Cities and Communities, through the European Innovation Partnership, is foreseeing a key role for industries and cities to work together, to develop these solutions, and to have these solutions implemented in cities. Horizon 2020 Energy Challenge Budget. We have already a work program for the period 2014-2015, which was approved by the member states last week. And we have a rough allocation about around the topics for the next 2 years. You may see that smart cities is going to receive an important share. But if you look at energy efficiency, if you look at renewable grid storage, that's for sure that there will be solutions which after that can be used in big integrated projects in cities. So if we consider this let's say picture, you may say that indirectly 2/3 will go to smart cities. Lighthouse project for Horizon 2020. As it mentioned in the communication on energy on smart cities and communities, we like to achieve up to 2020. We like to have in Europe at least 25 lighthouse projects. That's for sure that it's not the only thing that we like to achieve in Europe, but we need, let's say, a starting point, and we need to be ambitious. For this project, it will be mentioned in the call which will be published on 11th of December. You may see that there is a synergy with the work which was done by the Sherpas, by the high-level group in the partnership, and you may see here the 3 vertical priorities which are previously mentioned: low energy districts, integrated infrastructure, and sustainable urban mobility. So this will be the area which have to be addressed in the project which will be implemented through Horizon 2020 for the first 2 years of the work program. What are the conditions now? So collaboration, industry and cities. It's not possible, that's for sure, the project should to be run only by a city or only by the industry. We need When mentioned here 2-3 cities involved, that this is the minimum. So we may have 10 cities if they have common challenges and they want to work together. We need also at least 2-3 follower cities. There will be cities for which there will not be a financial implication, but there will be cities that will like to participate in the project and to learn what is going on. So this will be the next generation of cities which will be able to develop a project. Of course, the urban planning has to be already there. So it's no financing offer for urban planning, but only for the development and implementation of the project, concrete demonstration project. And funding from other parts secured. That's for sure that European Union will not cover 100% of the funding, and starting with Horizon 2020, a new additional source of funding will be added, the structural funds, and we'll like to see projects which are combining these two types of funding. Affordable and replicable solutions. We like solutions which are not very expensive, will not be a burden for, let's say, indirectly energy prices or citizens. And we like solutions which will be scale up, which will be replicated in city or in the same city or in other cities. A little bit of history, so to show you how we moved on. The communication on smart cities and communities was launched in July 2012. So we had in 2012 the call for proposal within the 7th framework program addressed either actions plans, either demonstration projects, which had to consider at that moment one of the 3 sectors: buildings, heating and cooling, so energy networks, and smart grids. In 2013, we are more ambitious. So demonstration only, and the project had to address the 3 sectors: buildings, heating and cooling, and smart grids. Now, with Horizon 2020, we'll move to the next dimension: energy, transport, and ICT. We like to see projects which are able to combine this. And in terms of funding, we like to see at least 3-4 projects per year, and with probably at funding from the European funds framework program on research, which will be at the minimum of 18-20 million euro. Sorry. An example from 2012. So this is a project from the call 2012, which grouped cities from 5 countries. So you have here Belgium, you have Italy, Spain, Sweden, and Turkey. So the variety, I think it's everywhere. We have north, south, east, west. The difference is important, but they identified common challenges, and they will work to design, to construct very low new energy buildings. I mean, if you type on Google the name of the project, that's for sure you'll have more information about. What I would like to strengthen with this, the fact that cooperation, it's possible not only on the, between the cities, among the cities which are situated in the north or the cities which are situated in the south. Probably that we can learn and we can find common challenges all across Europe. And with a new call for proposal and with a new work program, we like to see more cooperation at the level of the whole European Union. That's for sure that for the moment we see there is a sort of lagged from the Central and Eastern Europe, and if Western Europe it's more developed and the more knowledge, more experience there, we like to see that the cooperation is strengthened and the knowledge can be transferred to the Central and Eastern part as well. You have here, two websites, and I invite you to have a look. And on 13th of December, there will be an event which will be organized by the stakeholder platform a networking event following the publication of the call. If you are interested to join, if you are interested to find a real partner on this, please register and join us on 13th of December. 5th of December, it will be the info day for the energy. Just tap on Google, you'll have, unfortunately there are no places available anymore. The participation is quite important, almost 2,000 people, but the event will be web streamed. So thank you very much for your attention.
Okay, thank you very much. Our next speaker, he's Juanjo Hierro. He's chairman of the architecture board in charge of the overall technical coordination of the future Internet public and private partnership program launched by the EC and major ICT industry players in 2011.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me to participate in this very interesting session. I would like to start with a question. How many of you live in a city? Raise your hand. Okay, good. And what would you envision would be the percentage of companies that are running their business and operating in cities? I guess almost all of them. The point I want to make is that cities is where things happen, right? And that's why if we think about the concept of smart cities, which is the concept where we are trying to radically transform cities so that new innovative services can be delivered to individuals, SMEs, businesses, and also where more efficient management of services can be carried out. This can have a quite relevant impact on the economy and productivity of people and growth. So all of us who are participating in this Expo World Congress, I think, should take consciousness about how important and what is going to be the impact of creating smart cities in the real daily life of people and the economy and creation of jobs and all that stuff. So the Future Internet PPP is about trying to bring two major tools that could help smart cities to really materialize the vision and really achieve these goals I was talking about. And we need, in order to develop the concept of smart cities, I guess we all could agree, we first need technology, the technology that could allow us to materialize the concept, these new services, that more efficient way of carrying out management of the services. But it's not just about technology. We also think that we have to create an open innovation ecosystem around cities. Both are the goals that we aim to tackle in a program like the Future Internet PPP. And regarding technology, what we are delivering is Fiber, the platform I'm going to talk about just in a second, and PhiLab. PhiLab as the place where this innovation ecosystem can be created, in particularly where we have started to create this innovation ecosystem around smart cities. What is Fiber in a nutshell? Well, it's the platform that is integrating together a number of technologies that has disrupted the ICT scene in the recent years that are coming together to bring an environment that would make rather easy and fast help development of applications by developers worldwide. A platform that brings together, for instance, enablers that allow and make it very easy to connect to sensors that could be deployed all over the city, that bring enablers to analyze all the data that you gather real time and processes, to analyze it to really boost the development of new services and the creation of a better management of the different services. All of this is together being developed, delivered with a number of points that we have taken in mind when we have developed the platform. The first thing that has driven our design has been simplicity. We want to bring rather simple things that developers can use, but yet powerful. We have been able to test this in practice when we launched the technology early in September, and we allow developers in the campus party event in London to start working on this technology that they haven't seen before, so they were approaching for the first time, and you could not believe what amazing applications they develop in just 1 day and a half by using this technology. So simplicity is a major driver of what we have done in Fiverr. Second, the concept of openness. All APIs in Fiverr are open, public, royalty-free, and will become available through an open source reference implementation. Okay? So openness is a major criteria for this cloud-based platform that will be able to compete with the incumbent players such as Amazon and others. And last but not least, because we are talking about open APIs, open specifications that providers can comply with, but we do not want it to start from scratch on paper, designed by committee. We actually carry out our work driven by implementation. So we started taking results of previous research projects, put them at work, integrated them, and creating a product that can be now used and be offered to actual developers. What is FileUp? I talked before that it's not just the technology, what will allow the city to really, achieve this goal of really impacting the daily life of people, the daily run processes of businesses in the city. We have to create an open innovation ecosystem that could engage entrepreneurs, that could bring the incentives to entrepreneurs to really do things for the city, right? And this is what we are creating with FileUp. A very simple concept, creating a meeting point. There was not before, as it is now, a place where entrepreneurs will be able to know that they can connect, they can create an account, they can set up a virtual infrastructure for running their application, and there will be data there coming from cities connected to the environment so that they can develop their showcase applications, test them with real data, showcase it so that cities can see what they have done with their innovative ideas and what they can offer. And this is an opportunity for not only the entrepreneurs, but the cities themselves. I have the opportunity to talk with many cities, and what they give me as a message is we are eager to connect to entrepreneurs. We want to learn what they could do for us if we offer them the data, the tools, and those things. But how can I approach them? Some of them try to run local events, but that is with a very local footprint. How can I, if I'm in the Sevilla city, learn about a developer in Lithuania who can really have a very good idea of what they can do with my data? This is what we can deliver with FileUp, a place where the cities know that entrepreneurs are connecting and working with data, and the technology that is able to exploit the data, and where entrepreneurs, on the other hand, know that cities are looking for engaging with them. This is a very simple concept, but never seen before. So it's a really opportunity for that. FileUp was something that we launched early in September this year in the Campus Party Europe event. And what we learned there was amazing. We were, it was a quite risky experience because it was the first time we were going there to approach developers and we didn't know how they would react. And it was crazy how these very young developers, geeks, were able to really create fascinating applications in a matter of 1 day and a half. Let me show this video. I hope that the volume, but sorry, someone from the, they didn't display the sound. And we told them to now. They say that now it's fixed. Let's see. Okay, so while it displays, well, it was with the music, so you can think about your favorite song while it displays, and you can check the message. There is a second video afterwards, so please try to fix this, because the other one is about people talking, so it would be great if we can hear the sound. So this was an event where we allow people, developers, to really play with the technology, and I mean, it was amazing what they did in just 1 day and a half. The team that won the hackathon that we ran, just to let you know, were except one, all below 18 years old. And they developed in just 1 day and a half an application that could read data from sensors all over the place that we had distributed and could display advertising on a screen based on the information that was captured by the sensors. So for instance, an advertising about the sunglasses could be seen if there was sun and high temperatures, while if there was cold and no light, then they can offer other kind of advertisement. And it was interesting also how the second winner of the hackathon, who it was really touch our hearts because he was handicapped. He developed in just 1 day and a half an application that was able to analyze video real time and determine how many people were in a given space. So in order to find out where there were too many people, so therefore they have to trigger alarms and stuff like that. So pretty interesting, valuable applications that they develop in just 1 day and a half, okay? Without no previous training, just the training they receive there. So that was a very interesting event. And we are proud to say that the European Commission is really backing us on all this effort. Ms. Nelly Cruz was the person who really announced the launch of FileUp at the Campus Party event in Campus Party Europe event in London. And she also talked about FileUp when she launched the European Innovation Partnership on Smart Cities and Communities in the CSM Congress also in September. So there are the links, and you can read her speech and how strong they are pushing and backing us on this aspect. A slide just to comment on what comes next. Really very ambitious marketing plan with a lot of events that trying to disseminate how the platform works and everything. Startup, very eminent organizations linked to entrepreneurship like Startup Weekend will join us in promotion of these activities. And we have launched a number of challenges with, for instance, a challenge on smart cities with 200,000 euros in prizes for the best developers in that area. But not closing there, because the Commission has just launched a call where they will distribute 100 million euros of funding for SMEs who are going to develop applications based on fiber technologies and to be deployed and showcased in PhiLab. This is going on. It's technology that is ready for you, ready for cities, and several cities are connecting now to PhiLab to offer their data. There were a number of cities in Spain that announced that they connected to PhiLab mid-October, Sevilla, Malaga, Santander, Zaragoza. I'm proud to announce today that 2 other cities from Italy have joined PhiLab, the city of Torino, the city of Trento, and we expect that this will grow in the coming months. This was a video where we could hear about some statements made by
a very important role. It's going to provide all companies with a common platform so that we develop solutions all across Europe and hopefully all across the world, that cities can interchange and developments that are done in one place will be compatible with services that are developed in other cities. So I think that's one of the issues where the public sector can help, which is defining a standard, defining a model, so that companies can work in a collaborative manner and develop things that are going to be replicated in many cities at the same time.
And then fiber is an important building block, because fiber is about open APIs, and it's about generic enablers, and it's about a philosophy that is starting with the notion that we have this open platform.
In fact, fiber is going to compose a series of generic enablers, of software modules that can allow anybody to develop applications much more easier and much more cheaply. I think that it is also very important that the decision makers, the public administrations, they have a look about what fiber is. Because fiber is an investment for the future. Fiber means that the applications that you are going to develop, they are going to be fully compatible. You can use them across Europe and globally, and it's the opportunity to develop your city, to develop your region on something that will have a future.
And that's all. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much. We will now open to the audience the possibility to ask the questions you want to ask. Just because we have very fresh the last presentation, just let me reinforce 2 main ideas of the first 2 presentations, which in the first one, talking about EU policies, Ms. Maloney talked about the importance of scaling and sharing projects across Europe, because we don't need to reinvent the wheel. That's something very important. And also we need to measure what we do. That when she was speaking, it came up to my mind an important sentence made by a scientist, Galileo Galilei, that said, measure everything you can, and what you cannot, make it measurable. And I would like to add to this sentence that because what cannot be measured cannot be evaluated, and what cannot be evaluated cannot be improved. On the second speech, we've been talked about the 2020 agenda, and about the importance of achieving one of the goals, which at the moment we are not on the right path, which is in terms of being more energy efficient, and also not depending so much on the energy imports in the European Union. And I think smart cities that have a key role on trying to achieve these goals for the following years. So now it's your time, so if there is any questions you would like to ask to the different speakers, you can do so. let's try to do 3 questions in a row. There was 3 hands, and then we will try to answer the 3 of them. So if you ask the question.
Yes, my name is Caterina Sarfatti from the city of Milan. I have a question for the first 2 speakers of the European Commission. Thank you very much, very interesting presentations. When we talk about smart cities, we always talk about integration. When we talk about integration, we talk about integrating different kind of policies. And when we talk about integrating different kind of policies, we talk about inclusion and participation of citizens and communities. So my basic question is, will in the Horizon 2020 program and in the next calls, this kind of element and aspect be included in the calls, or vice versa, in the calls that talk more on social policies or social inclusion policies, have a smart city aspect?
We have 2 more questions. There was one here at front.
My name is Flemming. I come from Copenhagen, Denmark, and I think it's very interesting. And what is most interesting is that you go across the silos of also the EU, but that will also go for us in the cities and in the different sectors. So my question is, how do you administer? Who will be administrating the call, and how will you evaluate? How will the process be? Would that be reflected in some new manner of administration also within the Commission? But thank you very much. I think it's promising.
And I think there was a 3rd question here.
Yes, I have a more specific question. I'm Barbara Mölnig from the city of Cologne, Director of Smart City, my city. What is the role the European Commission sees for the cities? Because there was a city program and the 5th framework program, and the role for the city was defining the project. In the Horizon 2020, I see a more focused role for the industries.
So I'll start with the first question. Social implication of citizens. The project that I mentioned, the Lighthouse project, that's for sure that indirectly are addressing the citizens. When a city is developing this kind of project and you will have important renovations, that's for sure that the city, I may say, has to play a role and to explain to citizens, to convince them. It will not be specifically addressed as a topic in this call, but you know that with Horizon 2020, the previous program for competitiveness and innovation, specifically Intelligent Energy Europe, it's integrated in Horizon 2020. They will have specific call as they had previously, and all these aspects will be also addressed. So not directly in the call, but indirectly they have to be involved. The second question was about managing the calls for Horizon 2020. So they will be managed, it will be a single call addressing the 3 topics, and the evaluation will be done as it was done up to now, so independent evaluators, and the main criteria will be, of course, excellence. We will have, when call for proposal will be published on 11th of December, you will have also mentioned there what is the expected impact and the challenges. Horizon 2020 is oriented mainly on societal challenges, and you will see how the call is defined, what exactly we want to achieve, not only in terms of purely energy, transport and ICT. So it will be to evaluators to see what are the projects which are innovative and really are proposing the most interesting solutions. So one set of evaluation for the projects. And to the third question, involvement of cities. Cities, I mean, they will continue to collaborate, and we foreseen an interesting and important role. There are, first of all, several initiatives which they were mentioned. We have Covenant of Mayors, and we have also, for this European Innovation Partnership, we have the stakeholder platform. Cities have to, how would I say, they have to prepare to exchange information. They have to build their planning. And after that, Horizon 2020 will finance specifically this demonstration project. So there is a role for them, and the role can be found in the different initiatives which were mentioned and will continue to go on for the next period of time.
Yeah. Can I add something just to the third question, because just so specifically on the demonstration projects, in those particular projects we do see two roles for cities. The main role of cities in those projects is actually to define their specifications, actually, and we talked about main cities and follower cities, and the reason that we want follower cities is the more cities that are involved in defining specifications vis-a-vis the industry, the more replicable, hopefully, the solutions would be. So they play a big role, I think, in specifying what they want, but also making sure that solutions would be transferable across cities. And as I said in my presentation, economies of scale is a big thing there. So the more cities that have the same requirements, the better.
Have any other questions? Gentleman there. No more questions? Anyone else?
There was one.
No, so we will end up then the panel with this question over here.
Yeah. Xavi Tiana, provincial government from Barcelona. I have a question for the two first speakers. What's your role, or how you imagine the participation of medium-sized cities in the new Horizon 2020 program? Because, as you said, it's a program or that calls for proposals with 2-3 cities and 2 other 3 cities to apply these kind of initiatives. So I guess, or my fear is that the call could be more focused for big cities or those cities with a big strategy. So what's your idea on the role of medium-sized cities, even the small ones? Thank you.
So 2-3 cities is the minimum. It doesn't mean that we may have 10 cities. And in the previous project, where the idea was also the same, we had at the level probably, we had small cities, and the challenges were the level of the whole city. And from the big city, you will have probably a participation of a certain district. It doesn't mean that the projects are only for big cities, and it doesn't mean that small cities are not involved. They can participate if they have a planning, if they have already an idea, a strategy of what they want to do, and they will be also involved, and we like to see them involved as follower cities as well. So if they do not have this planning, there will be the moment for them to learn. So it's not 2-3, the maximum number, but the minimum. So it's up to them. If there are 10, no problem. The project, if there is ambitious, if it's in line with what exactly we like to see, it will be supported.
Well, thank you very much.